Alright guys, so I have something pretty cool to share with you guys today. It's a Synchro Zodiac deck using the new Zodiac cards, but synchroing up with them. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and showcase the deck in action, and then I'll give you guys the deck profile for this. But shout out to Apollo, because he's the original guy that sent me in these clips, so you guys can build the deck yourself and see how you guys like it, because I think it's pretty interesting to mix in both of them together. Because, you know, obviously if anything gets hit on the Zodiac ban list, then maybe you can try out this build instead. And I know a lot of people really like Synchro Monsters, so this will definitely be a fun deck for you guys. And having access to one of the most powerful Synchro cards right now in the game, Naturia Beast, is just so strong. And if you're playing against a Pendulum deck, you basically win. And I'll show you guys some of the crazy stuff that goes on in this deck in just a moment. But anyways, yeah, this was a relatively short duel. If you make Naturia Beast versus Pendulums, you're gonna have a good time. But there's a really funny clip over here that I want to share with you guys that is the match 2. It's not a very intensive game, but it's just funny because the guy's like, alright, you're playing this, gonna get my Flying Sea ready, because Zodiacs are all about the Exceeds, and obviously that would stop them. But he goes ahead, Flying Seas, and this is the best part about this. He's like, alright, no problem. I'm gonna go ahead and change this card's level. I'm going to Trish using your own Flying Sea, because he was trying to prevent him from exceeding, but he didn't need to go for an exceed. He was playing the Synchro version. So he kind of like outskilled his opponent in that sense. But anyways, this one over here is a pretty good duel over here. There's a lot of weird cards and you're like, what the heck, what is this? Scrap Goblin? There's a lot of interesting cards in here that some of you guys might not be familiar with, but we'll go over some of them when we get into the deck profile. And there's actually a really interesting card that I haven't seen in years, like an old school card that a lot of you guys remember from the TV show. And I was actually thinking about it, I'm like, that card's not that bad in Blue Eyes, because you have a lot of cards to discard. But we'll get into that card in just a moment. But nonetheless, he's going to go ahead and make a turn 1 Crystal Wing, or I guess a turn 2 technically, and a Utopic Future. So that's really good against Blue Eyes, as you guys will see over here. He goes for the Gospel Revival. He changed Max C so he can get some cards, because he went off. And he decided to, you know, go for that Maxi challenge. But against Blue Eyes, this is a very important setup, guys. A Crystal Wing and an F-Zero is pretty much like you're not going to be able to beat me, for the most part. I know that there's other crazy cards, but look at this, guys. Magic Jammer. If you guys haven't seen this, I gotta give a shout out to all my old school fans. It's a really, really cheeky card to play these days. But anyways, when a spell is activated, you get to discard 1 card, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. There's not very much spell negation in the game as far as like a trap goes. There was a card called Imperial Order, but that card was banned. But for the most part, like Dark Bribe, like a lot of these cards aren't just that good. And like Magic Jammer, you know, you have a lot of cards you don't really need in Blue Eyes. So I didn't think it's that bad in there. But it's just going to showcase off against the Blue Eyes matchup. These 2 cards are just excellent. Like, you make these and you're gonna have a good time, let's just put it that way. But anyways, he's gonna exceed on top of exceeds, because that's what the Zodiacs are all about. And you know, obviously getting another Synchro, I feel like a Drancia plus a Crystal Wing pretty much is like the same concept as having double negations, which pretty much secures victory against most decks when you can bust them out in like 1 turn. But anyways, he's going to go ahead and activate that effect of Drancia. He goes for the Blue Eyes Twin Burst Dragon, but unfortunately the Veiler was there to save the day, but he's going to go ahead and leave him with the F-Zero, because the F-Zero is not going to do very much, because it needs to steal monsters in order to deal any damage anyways, unless you're going to equip it with Axe of Despair. But unless he goes for the Tenki, goes for the Throw Blade, and he's going to go attack, and he's going to destroy the Tenki, not that it really matters. Anyways, but yeah, pretty good stuff over there you guys can see. But this one over here, the Exodia player, I would say he's a relatively newer player, but he is playing banned cards, like Pot of Greed. Like, that's a pretty good banned card. You know, some play Stratos, I feel like, alright, I don't really care. You can play 3 copies of Stratos. If I'm playing ABC, I'm still gonna wreck you. But anyways, this is more so to showcase off like some of the combos in the deck and how strong this deck can be. The Scrap Goblin got that Ancient Fairy Dragon, gonna be special summoning, going into the Crystal Wing. He's gonna go ahead and attach, and then he's got the Soul Charge for those wombo combo plays. He's got the Speedroid Red Eye Dice. Gonna go ahead and synchro up into Trishula, banishing a card from the hand and the field. And then you can see the Pot of, yeah, that's a pretty good card. Pot of Duality, Pot of Greed. I believe this guy, he's playing some like, he's like playing some straight up, it's not Exodia. At first I was like, oh, it's Exodia. It's a God card deck, but it's got Pot of Avarice, Soul Absorb, like a lot of cards just really don't want. He's playing more than, this guy's so cheeky. He's playing more than 1 Pot of Greed. Wow, dude. Heavy Stone is pretty good. Spellbinding Snorkel, these are like old cards. So this guy, he's just maybe newer to the game. And unfortunately, nowadays, when you're new to the game and, you don't have someone for guidance, you're going to get wrecked really hard unless you get those net decks, right? Don't worry, I get you guys the deck profile for this, no problem. But anyways, he's going to go ahead and OTK his opponent. Again, like, I know this deck wasn't like a good matchup right here versus the God deck, but nonetheless, it just shows you guys the combos in the deck. And I know a lot of you guys want a deck profile, so I'm gonna give you guys the deck profile and you guys can mess around with this deck. So anyways, this is the Zodiac Synchro deck. So first off, we have an interesting card that I don't think I've talked too much on this channel about, which is True King Lithozam the Disaster. So if this card is in your hand, you can destroy 2 other monsters in your hand and or face up on the field, including an earth monster, and then you get to special summon this card. And if you do that, you get to look at your opponent's extra deck and banish up to 3 monsters with different names from the extra deck if both the destroyed monsters were earth. If this card is destroyed by card effect, you get to special summon 1 non-earth worm type monster from your graveyard. You can only use each effect about once per turn. That's pretty cool that you're able to get a large bonus. Some decks would even just lose this. I know a lot of synchro decks, you get rid of their librarian, you get rid of just key cards that they need as stepping stones. Like you can get rid of the 2 level 5s, which is usually librarian plus like Armadis or just another card, and like they can't make it. You get rid. Obviously, they're going to be playing more than one formula, but nonetheless, it can just give you that one condition, and I think that's kind of good. And then we have 2 copies of the Zodiac Beast Thorough Blade over here. It does piercing. Oh, good effect right now. You pretty much, these are only used to go for the exceeds, let's be honest here. Next up, we have 3 copies of Viper. This card is actually kind of good, though. Alright, so if this card battles an opponent's monster after damage calc, you get to actually banish that opponent's monster. And then we have 1 copy of the Rabina, or the Rabbit. So during either player's turn, when your opponent activates a spell or effect that targets this card, you attach a material from this card to negate the activation. That is actually pretty cool. And then we have 3 copies of Molam Morat and her, I think it's a her. I want to say it's a her effect. And before it's a guy. Wow, did I just assume this card's gender? But anyways, once per turn, you can detach material from this card to special summon 1 Zodiac Morat from your hand or deck. But anyways, all those effects, they have to be, like, obviously this card isn't going to be detaching. I'm sure you guys understood that, but just in case someone's new to the Zodiac archetype, I figured I'd mention that. 3 cards of Terror Top. I feel like this card is the new artifacts. You throw 3 Terror Top, 1 Tackam Tomborg, and you got like a really good little synergy energy deck going for you guys. But yeah, really good stuff indeed. And it just helps you obviously make your synchros. And this card is a pretty good card, although you can't really make it with them because you need those earths. But next up, we have 3 copies of Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries. So this card, if you guys didn't know, it's also a tuner, and it's a pretty good card. If you play against ABC, you activate it, and they pretty much say, "Oh man, I lost my win condition." So definitely a really good card in the main deck also because it's a tuner. And then we have Scrap Goblin, so it's just, if you set it, it's not going to be destroyed and you can use it later on. Pretty good stuff for your synchros. And then we have Speed Red Eye Dice, 3 copies of Glow Up Bulb just because you want to have it as fast as possible. You can discard with Twin Twisters. You can do a lot of different things with it. I actually recommend you guys to play a card called 1-for-1. That way you don't have to actually, have 3 of these. I think it's just 1-for-1 just a better card in general anyways, just because it can extend some of your combos. And I understand that, you can Foolish the Glow Up Bulb, but if it's in your hand, again, you can discard it. But I don't know, I just like 1-for-1 because it gets it all on board, and then you can use its effect again. I don't know. You guys let me know your thoughts on that if you guys have thoughts on that. 1 effect beta, 1 Raigeki, 1 Soul Charge, 1 Foolish, 2 copies of Twin Twisters, 1 Fire Formation Tensu, 3 copies of the Elemental Triangle of the Illuminati of the Zodiac Beast. You can also no, this is not they have is this the one that has the field spell? I don't know. But yeah, you can't search this one off Interfere Dragon. I was going to give you guys a tip, but never mind. I'm bad at this game. But next up we have, 3 copies of the Illuminati Triangle card, 3 copies of Tenki, because, this lets you add a Beast Warrior type monster, and then they also gain 100 attack. Not that it usually matters, but it's still a bonus effect. But anyways, next up we have the Seasonal Directions. So this card is like a Pot of Avarice kind of for the Zodiacs, but you only get to draw 1 card. And we have 2 copies of Dimension Barrier, so you declare 1 of them, and for the rest of the turn, neither player can special summon those declared types. and then 2 copies of Solemn Strike to round it up for the rest of the main deck. Now, as far as the extra deck goes, you got 1 Trish, 1 Crystal, 1 Black Rose Moonlight, Black Rose Moonlight Dragon, the Ancient Fairy, and Shuri Beast because you make it against pendulums and they cry. Then we have the Zodiac Beast Tigress, the Zodiac Beast Drancia. Then we have the Monkey the Wild Bow over here. And we have 2 copies of Bullhorn, 1 Invoker, 1 Dante, and 1 F-Zero. That you guys can see that matchup is really favorable again once you make that. As far as the side deck, this looks like a pretty decent side deck. Obviously, you have to have the ABC Dragon for the matchup. And then we have 2 copies of the Kaiju Spider, 2 copies of Lancia, 2 copies of Ghost Ogre, 2 Maxi, 1 DD Crow. Of course, the ABC Dragon, and also this card can be used with Ghost Ogre. Treat Toad again, using that Ghost Reaper. Or yeah, I said Ghost Ogre. Ghost Reaper is just such an important card, I'd say, in this format. To just be able to be like, nope, you can't play it. And before this card gets hit like Maxi, right? And then we have the Book of Moon, Twin Twisters, and Spell Shattering Arrow for those pendulum decks. But anyways, thanks for sending in the replays, Apollo. Really cool, unique deck. Interesting to see someone trying to synchro with the Zodiacs, because a little bit of a different thing. I haven't seen that. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure you guys give that like button a titty slap. And I am signing out.